The NFL Draft is truly a spectacle. With so much hype around these top prospects year after year, it's always fun to go back and see which of these prospects truly lived up to expectations. And specifically in this video, who is the best overall first rounder from every individual class. So let's go all the way back and start with the 2000 NFL Draft. 2000. 25 years later, the big story around the 2000 NFL Draft was Tom Brady in the 6th round. But for just round 1, there were some dogs. Shaun Alexander, Jamal Lewis, Chris Samuels, and John Abraham. But the best first round pick by far was Brian Urlacher. Urlacher was one of those old school run-stopping middle linebackers out of New Mexico. While he was big, he also had incredible 4.5 speed that he showcased at the Combine, which helped elevate his draft stock to top 10 pick status. It took him almost no time to show that he belonged in the NFL. He began his career making 6 Pro Bowls in 7 seasons, establishing himself as one of the most dominant linebackers in the game. Urlacher was relentless, exceptionally athletic, and remarkably intelligent as the leader of those dominant Bears defenses in the 2000s. 2001. This draft class was loaded with exceptionally high-end talent. Michael Vick, Reggie Wayne, and Justin Smith were all awesome players who didn't make the top 3 from this first round. Those 3 were all Hall of Famers, and you can make a case for any of them being the best first-round pick from 2001. To show some love to all 3, they are all members of the 2000s All-Decade team and make a case as the best player at their position during their time. Steve Hutchinson played guard for Seattle and Minnesota in his prime, and he was named first or second team All-Pro 7 straight times. Seymour was one of the best D linemen in the early 2000s, and was one of the major reasons as to why New England won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. And lastly, LaDainian Tomlinson was simply the complete package at running back. He was incredibly versatile. His combo of power, balance, and vision were second to none, and is why he put up monster numbers on the ground. That alone made him elite, but add the fact that he was the best receiving back of his era, and you have one of the best all-time backs to ever play the game. Oh, and he could throw the ball as well. 2002. This was a year that will be remembered as the Texans making their first ever draft pick, and things not going all that well. And then 2 picks later, there was another quarterback that ultimately struggled. However, there were some big-time defensive players that came out of this first round, namely Hall of Famers Julius Peppers and Ed Reed. This is another one that you could debate, but I'll go over both. Julius Peppers was a total freak coming out of college. He played both football and basketball at North Carolina, and at 6'6" and 283 pounds, he compared to Lawrence Taylor for his ability to dominate. Not only did his athleticism translate extremely effectively, but he was able to sustain his supernatural athletic ability for most of his 17 NFL seasons. This included him putting up double-digit sacks in 10 of those. Now, Ed Reed, on the other hand, was also a multi-sport athlete in college. While at Miami, he was a unanimous All-American in 2001, while also placing 3rd in the Big East Championships in the javelin. That well-rounded athleticism certainly helped him become a star in the NFL, but what made Ed Reed one of the greatest safeties ever was his exceptional football IQ and instincts, which led him to picking off boatloads of interceptions. 2003. 2003 boasted some solid players, including Kevin Williams, Terrell Suggs, and Andre Johnson. But the only Hall of Famer and the best player from that first round was Troy Polamalu. Few players in NFL history have a more iconic look than Troy Polamalu. And not only did he look cool with his hair, but he made plays on a regular basis that no one else could. His instincts, hard-hitting style, and unpredictability resembled that of the Tasmanian Devil, and made him one of the most uniquely dominant players of all time. Overall, he played 12 seasons all for Pittsburgh, and was a huge reason why they won 2 Super Bowls in that time. 2004. This was the year of the quarterback. Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger were all drafted in the top 11 picks, and all of them started for 14 plus years in the NFL. Now, while these 3 quarterbacks all had long and storied careers, the best overall player from this first round was Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald is the definition of consistency and class. The dude barely ever missed games, and he played the game the right way. Fitzgerald had amazing hands and was in the league forever. Despite mostly playing for a bad team, he was this generation's Jerry Rice, as he finished second all time in most of the major receiving categories. 2005. This was an interesting draft class. It already has a player who's been inducted into the Hall of Fame, DeMarcus Ware, and yet the best player from this class is still active in the NFL. That, of course, is Aaron Rodgers. After falling to Green Bay on draft night, Rodgers spent his first 3 years as a backup, barely seeing playtime. But then he took over in 2008, and by 2009, he was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And by the end of 2010, he was a Super Bowl champion. Following that Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers became one of the biggest icons in the sport. His incredible arm talent, combined with his pinpoint accuracy, elite decision-making, and ability to make plays out of the pocket, helped Aaron Rodgers win 4 MVPs and make 10 Pro Bowls to this point. His career interception percentage is the lowest of all time, which goes to show how well he could avoid making mistakes while still putting up insane numbers. Although things were rough in New York, if he continues to play, it'll be interesting to see what happens next in the Aaron Rodgers saga. 2006. This was one of the most hyped drafts that I could remember. This was due to guys like Reggie Bush, Vince Young, Vernon Davis, and Matt Leinart. However, the best players from this class ended up being in the trenches: Haloti Ngata and Nick Mangold. And because there's not a big enough gap, I'll go over both. For about a 6-year stretch in Baltimore, Haloti Ngata was a nightmare for opposing offenses. At a massive 340 pounds, his unique combo of size, athleticism, and relentless drive made him an absolute force. He helped make the Ravens one of the most intimidating defenses during his prime. On the flip side, Nick Mangold had a similar stretch where he was the best center in the NFL. He was reliably consistent, hardly ever missed time, and was an amazing leader on the Jets' O-line. He played a key role in those 2 years the Jets made the AFC Championship. 2007. This might be the toughest year to pick who the best player is, because at the top end of the class, this is the most loaded of any draft. 2007 had 4, soon to be 5 Hall of Famers, and that doesn't include Marshawn Lynch, who some would make a case to be that 6th Hall of Famer. But anyways, those 5 players are Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas, Adrian Peterson, Patrick Willis, and Darrelle Revis. I'm not saying that he's had a better career than guys like Jerry Rice, but Calvin Johnson's got to be the greatest receiver talent in the history of the game. For Joe Thomas, no player has been more reliable than this guy. The dude never missed a snap until his final year in the NFL, and began his career making 10 straight Pro Bowls. As for running backs, there was none more terrifying than Adrian Peterson in his prime. As a pure runner, he's the best of my generation. For Patrick Willis, it's sad how injuries derailed his career, but for 7 years, he was the best linebacker in the game. And as for lockdown corners, Darrelle Revis was one of the greatest of all time. And let's be honest, Revis Island is one of the most badass nicknames ever. 2008. While not as stacked as the previous year, 2008 offered some really good players. Chris Johnson, Ryan Clady, Aqib Talib, Joe Flacco, and Dwayne Brown were all impressive pros. But the best player from this first round is former MVP Matt Ryan. Coming out of Boston College, Matt Ryan is one of the last top 5 quarterbacks that was a pure pocket passer with absolutely no ability to run. Although despite this, when he arrived in Atlanta, he helped stabilize things immediately. By year 3, the Falcons were one of the best teams in the NFC, and he was a Pro Bowler with his lethal connection with Roddy White. But after the team selected Julio Jones, these two became one of the most iconic duos of the 2010s, peaking in 2016. That was the year that Matt Ryan won MVP, and the team went to the Super Bowl. Overall, Matt Ryan was always available and maintained top 10 quarterback play during his prime. 2009. The only 2 active players remaining from this class are punter Thomas Morstead and the number 1 overall pick, Matt Stafford. Stafford has certainly solidified himself as one of the best picks from this class after winning that Super Bowl with the Rams. However, the true top player from this class is either Clay Matthews or Alex Mack. Clay Matthews was a 6-time Pro Bowler and the only first-team All-Pro from this first round. His versatility from the linebacker spot played a tremendous role in the Packers' Super Bowl run in 2010. Matthews nearly won Defensive Player of the Year off that incredible season. At his peak, he was a superstar. Now, Alex Mack, on the other hand, played center on the offensive line, which is a less glorious role, but he was elite. The moment he stepped out of Cleveland and into Atlanta, Cleveland's O-line deteriorated, and Atlanta's offense transformed into a juggernaut. Over his 13-year career, Mack made 7 Pro Bowls and was named to the All-Decade team for the 2010s. 2010 has a lot more current active players, with 6 first-round picks still playing today. Overall, this class was incredibly loaded with talent, with 7 total players who've made at least 4 Pro Bowls in their career, the best of which made 11, and is considered the best left tackle possibly ever, Trent Williams. With the nickname Silverback, Trent Williams is a man amongst boys. He is too big, too athletic, and too strong. As a pass blocker, he's almost never beaten. From 2021 to 2023, he allowed just 2 total sacks. As a run blocker, he's a nightmare to line up against. And in the screen game, you better just get out of his way. One thing's for certain, Trent Williams will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. 2011 produced some elite level players. 7 of these dudes have made 7 Pro Bowls or more in their careers, and that doesn't even include Cam Newton. And also the player that I feel is the best from this class, JJ Watt. Now, JJ Watt dealt with injuries and saw a rapid fall off by the end of his career. So if you value longevity, then maybe Von Miller, Patrick Peterson, or Julio Jones is the best from this class. But let's be honest, few players in the history of the NFL were as dominant during a 4-year stretch like JJ Watt was from 2012 to 2015. His relentless drive, combined with his explosiveness and strength at the point of attack, made him nearly unblockable. He won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards in a 4-year stretch, and nearly won MVP in 2014. He had 2 seasons with over 20 sacks, making him the only player to ever accomplish this. And that's not to forget that he had 5 touchdowns in 2014 as a defensive lineman. Also, in 2012, Watt had a mind-boggling 39 tackles for loss. The next closest number in the history of the NFL is 29, and happened to also be accomplished by JJ Watt. I'm not saying the record will never be broken, but that's unlikely to be surpassed. He still had awesome moments outside of that 4-year stretch, but that run alone is Hall of Fame worthy. 2012. Similar to 2011, 2012 had a number 1 overall pick who was a beast for a short time, and also had some ridiculous defensive talent. Stephon Gilmore, Fletcher Cox, Chandler Jones, and Harrison Smith are among the most successful. However, the best player from this first round was Luke Kuechly. Often considered one of the smartest players to ever play the game, Kuechly was immediately one of the best linebackers in the NFL when he began playing, as he led the league in tackles as a rookie. Then, after year 1, he made a Pro Bowl every year for the rest of his career. Kuechly was a genius when it came to studying his opponents, and when you combined that with his elite instincts and exceptional athleticism, it begins to make sense how he was one of the best linebackers of his generation. Kuechly won Defensive Player of the Year in 2013, and nearly won it again during their run to the Super Bowl in 2015. 2013. This is considered one of the weaker draft classes in recent memory, with a large number of busts coming in the top 10 specifically, but the entire first round as a whole still produced a few standout players, namely DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Frederick, and the best of them all, Lane Johnson. As one of the premier technicians on the O-line, Johnson's pass blocking skill is second to none from the right tackle position. Since 2019, he's played in 3,031 regular season pass blocking snaps and has only allowed 5 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. As an elite pass blocker and excellent run blocker as well, Johnson's been a huge catalyst to the Eagles being able to build 2 completely different teams to win Super Bowls. As a 6-time Pro Bowler, Lane Johnson has a strong case for being a Hall of Famer, especially if he can continue at the pace he is going at for a few more years. 2014. After the disappointing 2013 class, 2014 was much more hyped and turned out to be much more talented, with 8 players making 3 or more Pro Bowls in their career to this point. Some of the standouts include OBJ, Mike Evans, Khalil Mack, Zach Martin, and the best in this class, Aaron Donald. To put it simply, Aaron Donald was unblockable from the moment he stepped into the NFL till the moment he retired. Despite being considered undersized for a D tackle, his explosive power and strength were simply unmatched. In the run game, he always covered his gaps no matter how many players they threw at him, to the point where teams basically gave up on inside runs. And that's not even the strongest part of his game. As a pass rusher, teams had to throw 2, even 3 guys at every play at this dude, or disaster would strike. Aaron Donald put in 10 of the most dominant seasons we've ever seen, and most consider him the greatest defensive tackle in NFL history. 2015. This will be the year remembered for mediocre quarterbacks at the top and a lot of misses in the first round. Still, there are some solid players to come out of this class. Guys like Amari Cooper, Marcus Peters, Todd Gurley, and, the best of all, Brandon Scherff. He played right guard and became a cornerstone on the offensive line. Scherff went to 5 Pro Bowls in his first 7 seasons, and he was arguably the best guard in the NFL in 2020. Today, he's still an active starter for Jacksonville. Now, like I did for JJ Watt, you could make a case for Todd Gurley being the best at his peak. He only played for 6 seasons, but in his first 4, Gurley was arguably the best back in the league. He became an absolute beast in both the run and pass game in those early McVay years before injuries derailed his career. 2016. The first round in 2016 was super top heavy, with each of the top 7 picks making a Pro Bowl in their career. And then after that, just 5 of the final 25 picks combined accomplished the same feat. Within that top 7, we also see the best overall players. Jared Goff developed into a top 10 to 15 starter. Joey Bosa has been pretty solid outside of injuries, and Zeke Elliott was a beast during his peak years. However, the best overall player from 2016 is Jalen Ramsey. Coming in at 6'1" and nearly 210 pounds, Ramsey has been one of the best corners in the NFL, and in his prime, he was the best. With his exceptional man-on-man skills, Ramsey has been a lockdown corner on every roster he's been on, which he credits to the way he studies and prepares for his opponents. He was a huge reason why Jacksonville made that random run to the AFC title game in 2017, and why the Rams won that Super Bowl during the 2021 season. 2017. This class is loaded with some of the most talented players in the NFL. Myles Garrett, Christian McCaffrey, and TJ Watt can all make a case for being the best at their positions, at least in their prime years. But none of them are the top dog in this class, which, of course, goes to Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes entered the league as sort of a project quarterback, a guy with a cannon for an arm, but was unpolished and drew concerns over his decision making. But clearly, any concerns that scouts had about him were squashed pretty much instantly after Mahomes took over. He established himself immediately in his first year as a starter, throwing 50 touchdowns and winning league MVP. But that's just one of his many accomplishments. Today, Mahomes has played in 5 Super Bowls and has won 3 of them, and currently has the all-time record for passing yards per game. There's no bigger gap between 1 and 2 at any position than quarterback, when you factor in what they've accomplished. With the advantage of playing alongside Andy Reid, and with a resume already good enough to make the Hall of Fame, we will see how much longer Mahomes can keep up this level of dominance. 2018. 2018 was absolutely loaded. Its first round has produced now 4 Pro Bowl quarterbacks, and some of the best players in the NFL at their individual positions. Guys like Saquon Barkley, Denzel Ward, Roquan Smith, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Frank Ragnow, Quentin Nelson, and Vita Vea. Just had to say his name correctly because I mispronounced it a few videos back. Honestly, you can make a case for either Saquon or Quentin Nelson being the best players from this class, just as far as how good they've been at their best. But for the best player from 2018, I think it's currently a tie between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Outside of Mahomes, these 2 quarterbacks are in that next tier. Both Lamar and Josh Allen were considered projects coming into the NFL. They each possessed rare gifts physically, but they both had concerns over their abilities to be able to translate, which ultimately didn't affect either of them. They have both become cornerstone players, not just for their teams, but for the sport as well. They have each found a way to dominate in the regular season, both winning at least 1 MVP. And now, it's really just a question of can either of them beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. 2019. 2019's class has been in the NFL for 6 seasons now, and 6 players from this first round have made 3 Pro Bowls or more so far in their careers. And the best of these players is Nick Bosa. The former 2nd overall pick has become exactly what the Niners hoped. With his tremendous power and explosiveness off the edge, Bosa has become one of the top pass rushers in the league. He led the NFL in sacks in 2022, and he also won Defensive Player of the Year that season. He also led the league in tackles for loss in 2021. With 5 Pro Bowls in his first 6 seasons, we will see how long he can continue to dominate. 2020. Pick your poison. You can either pick the best of the quarterbacks, which in my opinion is Joe Burrow, or you could go with the top young tackle in Tristan Wirfs. But I believe the best player from this class is Justin Jefferson. As the 5th receiver taken in 2020, Justin Jefferson quickly established himself as the best receiver in the class, and the best receiver in the NFL. Where he's elite is in his route running, his speed, quickness, and exceptional hands. And what takes him to the next level is how hard he works on his craft. Year in and year out, Justin Jefferson has been ridiculously consistent. He currently holds the all-time record for career receiving yards per game, 2021. Talk about a brutal class for quarterbacks. But that shouldn't take away from the other spectacular players from this class. Ja'Marr Chase, Penei Sewell, Patrick Surtain II, and Micah Parsons have all been special and make a case for the top player in this class. I think from these four, Penei Sewell and Patrick Surtain II have the strongest cases. Surtain has really come along, winning Defensive Player of the Year this last season. But truth be told, Penei Sewell is the best player from this class. Not only is he considered the best overall tackle in the NFL right now, but he was also a legitimate Offensive Player of the Year candidate in 2024 as an offensive lineman. That is unheard of. Detroit really built their offense around his skill set, and he's a huge reason why they had the #1 offense in the NFL last year. 2022. Now that we're so close to today, it's becoming more difficult to separate these guys, since it's so early in their careers. But so far, 2022's top dogs are Aiden Hutchinson, Kyle Hamilton, Derek Stingley Jr., and the best of all, Sauce Gardner. Now, Stingley had a better year in 2024, but prior to that, Sauce Gardner was named first-team All-Pro in each of his first 2 seasons. At cornerback, that is remarkable. He was a lockdown corner as a rookie, with a league-leading 20 passes defended. 2023. With 2 seasons under their belts, there are multiple impact players that make a case for the best in this class. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Devin Witherspoon, and CJ Stroud are all incredible players. But truthfully, after what we witnessed in the 2024-25 NFL playoffs, Jalen Carter is the top player from this group so far. In 2024, Jalen Carter was a problem on the Eagles' D-line. He had a dominant regular season that earned him second-team All-Pro honors. And to be honest, he saved the Eagles' season in the playoffs versus the Rams. He forced that huge fumble to start the fourth quarter, and he made that critical sack down in the red zone with just over a minute left. Eagles fans should be extremely grateful for the role that Jalen Carter played for their Super Bowl victory. 2024. After just 1 year, there's some pretty good competition for the top player in this class so far. Jared Verse wreaked havoc for the Rams. Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors were beast receivers on bad teams. Brock Bowers was the best tight end in the NFL as a rookie. But ultimately, can we really say that any of them were better than Jayden Daniels? With one of the most remarkable rookie seasons ever, Daniels changed the landscape of the Washington Commanders. At times, he looked like a 10-year veteran with his shocking composure, considering the circumstances. As a wicked dual threat, an MVP candidate, and a nightmare for opposing defenses, the fact that he led that team, a team that had gone 4-13 the previous year, to the NFC Championship is one of the most impressive accomplishments in recent NFL history.
Designed running back. He's doing it on his own.
He'll launch this time.